Hey, welcome back to the studio. This is My Day of Play, where you're taken into the real events and actions of how it happens, long before the process of editing and or cleaning up. This is how it really went. Now, although I've been crushed by the effects of COVID, the journey's been to keep marching forward. We begin things with Jake Shimabukuro. His latest music project is a blues album with the legendary Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac. Then we're sitting down with a veterinarian. It's Dr. Don Filos, who has an amazing book filled with pet stories. Then we're going to wrap things up with yet another doctor. This one's a fierce scientist, Dr. Mary. This is My Day of Play, completely unedited, in the way of meeting the wizard behind the curtain.
And here's Arrow.
Hello and good morning, Bill. How you doing today?
Sick.
Uh-oh, what you got?
I don't know. It's not COVID, so
thank goodness
for that. Probably just a bad cold or flu or something like that. But it's from running around too much.
It is. Your body's getting beat up, man. That's what it's like to be on the road all the time.
Exactly. You know. If anybody knows, you know. All right, my friend. You got 10 with Jake. Take it away.
Jake, how are you doing today?
Harold, doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me on the program. Really appreciate the support.
It's an experience, this album. I mean, you guys live up to the name, Blues Experience. I mean, to listen to it, to experience it, and then to let it flow through your body. I mean, dude, people are going to go crazy over this album.
Oh, thank you for saying that. It was such an honor. I mean, Mick Fleetwood was just always one of my, he was my favorite drummer, and he's just such an icon. And I never in my wildest dreams ever thought that we'd be collaborating, so this is a dream come true.
Well, you're opening up a new door for Mick in the way that, we all have attached ourselves to him with Fleetwood Mac, but to put him in this position with you, he's gone back to his roots of blues. And I didn't think I would ever see that again.
Oh man. Yeah, that's why, we had this kind of blues theme, because I like thinking back on all the stuff with Peter Green, and, it was one of my favorite guitar players. Just kind of going back and revisiting, some of that music, but also like some of these other iconic blues and rock tunes, guitar tunes. Man, to reimagine these arrangements with him, that was just, my mind just exploded in the studio with him. It was awesome.
Listeners are going to flock to YouTube to watch your videos, and they're going to watch how you move those fingers, just like an Eddie Van Halen or a Carlos Santana. But then what I want them to do is to listen to all 9 tracks on this without seeing the picture, because to me, that's where the connection really gets into the soul.
Oh, thank you. Everything was recorded live in the studio. Whoa. So it's got that energy. And, Mick Fleetwood is such, he's so present, like when he plays, like, he's making eye contact with you, and he's like, he's just so intense when he plays and so intentional. But I tell people that he's like a great point guard on a basketball team. He sees everything. He has the vision, and, so it was such an honor, man, playing with him. I learned so much, and he was also so encouraging, like he kept telling me, just go for it, have fun and be experimental, and that's what we did, man. We just kind of no holds barred attitude and just went for it.
Mick is also a master at making unbelievable faces. How did you keep yourself from not bursting out in laughter?
Oh no, man! His expression, like when he gets into it, man. To me, that's inspiring. Because you're watching someone who's just so passionate, and they're just so in the moment. That's like, man, that's for me. That was just inspiration. It made me wanna, just keep elevating, what I'm doing, and just, to just. I don't know, the adrenaline, that he's able to draw out of everyone. It's just incredible, man. I tell you, it was, usually in the studio, it's kind of like, it's well, I don't want to say a sterile environment, but it's very like, it's quiet and controlled, right? But man, I tell you, especially when we were doing Rockin' in the Free World, we were, that was I've never like been jumping around in the studio like this while I'm playing. Normally you're like kind of standing in one place or sitting down and playing, you can kind of move around, but we were like jumping jumping up and down like it was a real rock concert, you know, like we had a huge audience in front of us or something. So yeah, the energy on it was just incredible. I never felt anything like it. And we had so much fun, and it was just you know, the way that you would hope music is supposed to be made, you know.
You speak of that audience. Are you going to take it on a tour? Maybe smaller venues where we can get really up close and personal?
I would like to, you know, we did a few right around, because we recorded this album before the Maui wildfires had happened. So so after that, you know, Mick joined us, and we did 2 nights as a little fundraiser, you know, to kind of raise money, you know, for Maui, and so we played all the songs off the record, and we played it over in Hawaii. It was over at the Hawaii Theater, which is an iconic theater in downtown Honolulu. And it was a very, very special and magical night, you know. And you know, Mick Fleetwood, you know, he's been a Maui resident for many years, and so and he's been so supportive of the community, doing so much out there, and you know, and they, you know, it's going to take a while. I mean, there's still they were just able to finish cleaning up the debris, you know, from all the fires in the residential area and the commercial area. Still, you know, they're still trying to clean that area up. But man, you know, you see that, and then you see, like, you know, the victims of Hurricane Helene and just what that community is going through, man. Yeah. You know, I'm just so sorry, man. It's just, you know, I just, you know, you just wish there was more that we could do, you know.
This album is coming out at the perfect time, and the reason why is because when you sit down and listen to Whiter Shade of Pale and even Rollin' and Tumblin', it really has that peaceful connection to the universe, and I think that people will use this as a medicinal place of escape, because, I mean, you have poured your soul into this, and you're giving it to the world now.
Oh, man, well, you know, thank you for saying that, because that is... I mean, that's like, for me, that's what music does for me. You know, it just brings people together. It makes us stronger as a community. It makes us feel more connected, more alive, more in touch with, you know, with ourselves and the people around us. And, you know, so, yeah, I mean, I just think, you know, it's so healing and so powerful, you know, and you know, and you know, hopefully I think, you know, this music will touch people, and and, you know, the same way that makes music and artistry has touched me and influenced me and so many others. I mean, it's just, I mean, everyone, you know, he's just such an icon, and the crazy thing about, like, all these songs that we played, you know, he didn't just kind of, I mean, he lived this music, you know, he
sure did.
Kind of the reason that this music exists, you know, so it's in this way. So it's just unbelievable. But I still can't believe it all happened. And I'm just so honored to be a part of all this.
Do you feel like the torch is being passed forward to the next generation? Because you're it. I mean, you're it.
No, definitely not. No. I just, no, man. I, you know, I'm always a fan of the ukulele, you know, first, and I just, I love music. I wanna, you know, keep learning and keep exploring. And this album was so inspiring for me, you know, because, like I said, Mick was just so encouraging, and, you know, he really pushed me out of my comfort zone. You know, he told me just kind of go for it. And, you know, so it kind of gave me, you know, it gave me a little bit more confidence, you know, to be more experimental and to just, you know, just go for it and trust my judgment and gut. And so, yeah, so it was just so I don't know, it felt so good to have someone like him, you know, to kind of mentor you in a way and give you that encouragement, and kind of like that it's okay, just do it, you know, it's fine. So yeah, that felt really great.
You got to come back to the show anytime in the future, Jake. The door is always going to be open for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for all the kind words, and thanks for, all that you're doing with just keeping music out there accessible for everyone, man.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
All right, you take care. Aloha. Thank you.
Veterinarians, you love them or you don't like them. And the reason why is because of, well, sometimes it's high cost, but you're going to love this veterinarian. She's written a book. It's Dr. Dawn. She's coming up next. Hello and good morning, party people.
Hi, Ariel. It's Terry, and I have Dr. Filos waiting to talk to you.
Excellent. Looking forward to this. How's everything going with you, Terry?
It's good. How about you? Are you survived that hurricane? You're okay?
Yeah, we're good in this part of the Carolinas, but the other parts, I mean, what I love is that there's a big concert that Luke Combs, Eric Church, and James Taylor are putting on here in Charlotte that's going to be for the victims, and so that's coming up on the 26th of October.
Good.
So, yeah, I mean, the Carolinas come together really well when things get tough.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're doing good.
Thank you.
All right. I'll patch you through and get her connected. Hi, Ariel. You're connected with Dr. Filos. Please go ahead.
Hello and good morning, doctor. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. My disaster artist, Jazzy, is sitting right behind me. She's with me at all times. So this book right here was absolutely something I needed to put in my life because I want to understand your journey. We never stop to ask you, how are you and how did you get where you are and what are you doing?
Well, I'm so glad we're like-minded. Yeah, I was raised. How I got here is I was raised in a childhood of pet loving fanatics, really, and so I just was guided from my family into this field, and it was the perfect challenging mix of variety for me. I've been working for over 32 years,
Wow.
But then 20 years into practicing, I started my house call practice. And I like to say I found my home in other people's homes. It was the perfect mix of my skill set and really just getting to know my patients and their families better. And I really did enjoy connecting. It was a great last or third act for me.
Those house calls are so important because one of my greatest moments was when the vet would come to my house because my Maltese had swallowed a penny and got zinc poisoning. And if it wasn't for those house calls, I mean, I just embrace my vet so much.
That's wonderful to hear because, when I started my practice in the Philly suburbs like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, there were very few of us, and people hadn't known about it. And now I've seen that evolution, and particularly with COVID, there are far more house call practitioners, and I think it's a great thing. And I love hearing back from people who've had this experience because it is kind of apples and oranges, the very, very different way to experience those visits.
Your book kind of reminds me of a journal. Is that where you got the stories for Tales of a Pet Vet?
Well, I mean, I sort of had a mental journal, and for decades, my family and friends, I would tell them a story, like, you're not going to believe what happened today. And combined with, certainly some of the stories are educational and not funny, but combined with my way of approaching life, which is sort of, we joke, it's like the Jerry Seinfeld, like I see the humor in so much, and there's so much of that with animals. So it was a compilation of sort of the stories that got the most reaction and people wanted to hear more of. And it's like a stand-up comedian. You kind of perfect your way of relaying these stories that some of them are too gross and some of them are just like not for dinner. And I hope I got better at telling them and picked the top hits and included at least most of them. There's plenty more that didn't make the final cut, but there's a lot of material to be mined for a book like this in my profession, in my opinion.
You get real honest with us and transparent, especially when it comes to teeth cleaning, and that is so important for dogs. But there was a time when with my Chinese crested where Sophia, she was put under, and I don't know how you guys are able to do that. You don't know how a dog is going to react, but boy, when you guys kick in, I mean, it's amazing that, what you do. But we as pet owners need to take care of those teeth.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and hundreds, I mean, I've lost count. People are resistant, and then if they do follow through and see the before and after of their pets that are so much happier, they're better with no teeth than a mouthful of painful teeth. And it's an insidious disease process that you don't realize they're in pain. You're with them every day, or they're not really always good at making it obvious, particularly cats. So you can only experience it when you've been through it, and then you realize, gee whiz, but keep spreading the word, because it can't just come from vets. It's good to come from pet parents like yourself.
Do you still have Willie the woolly monkey? Because I still have my elephant over here from my childhood. He was an acrobatic elephant.
I do not have Willie. In the book, he actually, it turned out, I don't want to give away my story, but I do, my mom, but he did actually, my mom had told me he went to live with at a monkey farm in Pennsylvania, and I think I was about 12 at the time, and when I was about 40, it occurred to me, I've been living in Pennsylvania. Where are these monkey farms? And so I faced reality, and she admitted he ended up having pneumonia and had passed away. And certainly we know now how he probably got, it's not a good thing to get a monkey in a pet store, but we did give him as much of a loving home as we could, and it was incredible. I loved him. I miss him.
So he was a real monkey? I was thinking he was just a stuffed animal.
Oh, no. He was a woolly monkey. He was probably, he was real. The story talks about how we we were in Florida where my mother found him, and then we were living in New Jersey at the time, and he came through on the luggage rack, and they announced on the carousel at Newark Airport, we have a special guest at Carousel 3, and he came out screaming. He looked like E.T. had a turtleneck. It went over his head. He was not happy, and that was the beginning of, most people know me as Dawn, the girl who had a monkey in in middle school.
How common is it for dogs to be talkers in the way that, I know Alaskan Malamutes are talkers, but I don't know if you can hear Jazzy behind me, but she's going, whoa, 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 whoa. She feels like that she's part of this conversation. But is it normal for dogs to talk with their humans?
So certain dogs are definitely more vocal. The Malamutes, the Huskies are famous for it. Yeah. I love, send me on my Instagram your videos of your talking Huskies. And a good friend of mine and her dog is a patient. I just go over there and talk to him, and he talks back. Some are more vocal than others. You see these French Bulldog videos as well, where they are just loud and yelling on subways. So I think that animals are very good with body language. When that fails, some have resorted to just entering our world and vocalizing, and it's fascinating, and at times hilarious, and at times disruptive. But it's entertaining.
Dogs are becoming extremely human in the way that we're taking our dogs into grocery stores, we're taking them into Home Depot, everywhere we go. Is this a safe place for dogs?
I think that you really, really need to be careful. I've seen people trip on dogs. I've seen dogs get stepped on. I think that put them in a carriage if they're small. If they're big, it really comes down also to the responsible pet parent, but the dogs themselves, because some are really, you can tell they go everywhere with their owners, and they're kind of more savvy than others. So I think know your dog. Make sure it's not stressful to your dog. People think, oh, he wants to be with me, but sometimes these loud lights and lots of people, it's a source of stress. So I did not bring my dog all over because it just would have stressed her. I would take her to the beach, same with dog parks. They don't always love being overwhelmed at dog parks. Know your pet and do what's best. You have to think for them, not just for you.
You cover so much inside this book in the way that, you have the story about Karl Lagerfeld, who had that $300 million. And then you also talk about the nervous pet owners. I don't know how you deal with all of the nervousness or the people that leave all their money to things. How is it that you're able to deal with this on a daily basis?
It's sort of evolved into this. And so, you're as a veterinarian, you have the full spectrum of, I want to do the minimum. I can't afford to do everything known, possible. And then you have the other end of the spectrum and everyone in between. And I think it's important to get good at communicating with the clients, knowing what they expect, be able to offer them everything. But if they can't afford it, or they don't have the time to do it or care for these pets, it's extremely important. And I do talk about that in Tales of a Pet Bed, how it's not about judging the client, and we don't judge. We get it. You're here trying to help your pet to the best of your ability, and people need to know, and I tried to get that across, that we understand that not everybody can do what they want to do or are willing, but we're there to help them. And ultimately the pet's best interest is at heart. So if we try not to over-recommend something that they're just not going to do it, go somewhere else, or maybe get frustrated and have an even darker fate. So it's important to work within the client's means and expectations. But some of them treat them like human babies or better. And they can be, you see them more frequently. Sometimes they're frustrating. In the most part, they are well-intended. And I like to work with people like that within reason. And ultimately, we all have the same goal, to take care of the pet.
You need your own TV show. You need your own TV show. This would be so wonderful. Turn this book into a TV show.
Okay. I'll work on that. I do think it's a good idea. I think there's so much. People just, my experience with my blog, with writing this book, seeing the popularity of TV shows, is people just want to be the best pet parent they can be. And I hope they will enjoy this book. It's just another source of not only learning about that, but also kind of getting into my head, and my heart, and seeing, like, your vet is in it not for the money, but because they really care about, this is a passion of mine, and I speak for my colleagues. And I think that the more you know, the better educated, and it's important that you love your vet. And if you don't love your vet, find another one. Find somebody who's just like you. And that's the message I drive home.
Wow. Please come back to this show anytime in the future, Doctor. The door is always going to be open for you.
I would love to. It was such a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time to talk.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Why do we like watching scary movies? What is it about fear? Well, we're talking to Dr. Mary next. Hello and good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Arrow. It's Peter calling with Dr. Mary Poppinritz. How are you?
Doing fantastic. How about you, man?
I'm good. You're a little bit faint. Is it just because you haven't put me into the system yet?
It's right here. I'll just speak up louder.
Okay, great. I'm gonna bring her in, and then you guys can get started. You ready for it?
I'm ready to rock.
Oh, all right. There we go. Hold on. Mary, Arrow has joined.
Hello.
Excellent.
Hello and good morning, Dr. Mary. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and put on my nice podcasting mic so that we will have some really clean audio. Let me just go ahead and plug this in with the old-timey cord. Okay. Excellent. All right. Let me choose. And of course, it wants to take its
It always does. It always does. Yeah, it always does.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, come on, you can do it. I believe in you. But right now you're just on my earbuds. Why aren't you seeing my light? Let me try a different port. Hold on just one second. All right. I do not know why. I've already used it like a couple of times this morning, and now it just
that happens all the time. That
that
happens to me all the time, especially when it comes to Adobe Audition. It's like it's working perfectly, and the next thing you know, it goes. Bleh. It's just like, what? You were just.
Yes, you were just doing it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, and I can switch to my my wireless lab if it just doesn't want to be my friend today. But I'll try one different port, and then if that just doesn't go, then we'll save time. It is quite amazing of what we can do with just like, MacBook Pro and on the road with what used to take an entire studio.
Oh yeah.
All kinds of stuff. And I mean, it's pretty impressive, but then when it doesn't work, you're just like, come on.
Yeah.
Can't believe you're not doing what I want you to. Yeah. Yeah. So I just does not want to play nice. So I'm going to switch back to my my wireless lab, and then you tell me if that video or that audio is okay.
Perfect.
Hold on one second. Because I know even I have the AirPod Pros, but they can sound really tinny sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's do one more time. Okay. I think that my laptop's like, look, you've overspent the amount of interviews you could do today. I'm just not going to play any ads. Okay, so now I'm back on my wireless lab. Can you tell me how audio sounds on your end?
It sounds perfect. You're coming through nice and clear.
Great.
Well, good morning, doctor. How are you doing?
Oh, good morning to you. I'm very excited that it's spooky season because I love spooky season. It is my favorite.
Do you find it interesting to go out and watch people being spooked around? Because I mean, we've got Scarowinds here, and it's just fascinating to watch people, get really nervous about going to such a Halloween place.
Right? Yeah. Sometimes so in my work, I do keynotes and corporate workshops, but I also do immersive experiences for small groups where part of the experience that I designed for them is to scare them and then give them the neurohacking tools to move through the sensations of fear. So sometimes I do.
When you talk about fear, one of the things that you mentioned inside your book, in fact, chapter 2 starts it off, fearless is a facade. I about fell out of my chair when I started reading this because we're all taught to, you got to be fearless, you got to go, you got to be courageous. And then to hear that fearless and courageous are two, they're intertwined. They're not even opposites.
Yes, fearless is like a total BS bill of sale that we were given. And I'm just so mad about it because we tell people the solution for feeling afraid, even if it's something that is, going to make their life better, is just be fearless or suck it up. Cool. That's like the most unhelpful thing ever. How about some actual tools? That's what I would like. And that's what I wanted. And I couldn't find it, so I made it. But the idea that fearlessness even exists is ridiculous. It's nearly biologically impossible. There's been 4 cases since we started studying this, 150 years ago. But for the rest of us, that is not the 4 people in the last 150 years, we naturally feel fear, and it helps keep us alive. It is the reason why I am here, you are here, everyone listening, that we have generations before us that were scared enough that they didn't die before they reproduced.
Right. Right.
So, but we have fear to thank for that, right? But it's a balancing point. And our amygdalas, which is going to be the two almond-shaped structures in the brain, that's kind of like the fear center, if you will. That wants to keep us playing small, keep us hiding in our little bed caves, never leaving our house, because to the amygdala, safety is life, right? If you're safe, you stay alive. That's all it cares about. And the amygdala is very binary. It's either on or off, really. And the part of our brain that we really associate with living a life with good stories is going to be our prefrontal cortex. That prefrontal cortex, if you took your hand and you slapped yourself on the forehead, I mean, don't do it too hard, but slap yourself on the forehead, it would be that part of your brain that would be right there.
Wow.
That's the part that is responsible for creativity, innovation, dreams that, as in like our waking dreams of what is the life I dream for myself. Well, that goes offline when we're in a fear arousal response. Mm-hmm. When our amygdala is even slightly kicked up, that part of our brain takes a little nap, and we stay playing small and stuck and not living the life that we really want.
Wow. So are we addicted to fear? I mean, because why does my wife and I, why do we always watch scary movies? Because, I mean, if there's a new one on, we're on it.
Ooh, so that's such a good example, because when we watch scary movies in community, so like with like your wife or friends, or maybe it's a first date for somebody you're trying to make your wife, we actually bond deeply and like more quickly than if we were to, let's say, watch a comedy.
Yeah.
We feel like we've been through a journey together when we watch a scary movie. And just like, one extreme example would be if you had a platoon of soldiers and they come through the war on the other side and they're going to be friends forever, right? They've bonded in a deep way through this journey of being terrified all the time. Something similar, but in a very, very light version, is what happens when we watch scary movies together.
Yeah.
It creates that bonding opportunity.
And it's changed so much. I mean, it's just, it blows me away on how scary movies are now becoming what I call mental movies. They get inside your head because you start believing this really could happen.
Yes. And there's a couple of other things that scary movies do for us, and that's a great point. One is that we can kind of do dress rehearsal for tragedy. I mean, for me, I absolutely have my zombie apocalypse game plan ready to go. Like, I know which windows I'm going to barricade. I know that I want to go in the first wave, though, because I don't want to be 5 years in trying to fight over a Twinkie. So I have my plan, I have my game plan. And that makes us feel safe, though, too, because we feel in control of a world that is uncontrollable. The other piece of it is that it gives us a safe kind of playground to discuss and dissect really difficult topics like death and loss and illness. And we can do it through the lens and through the guise of the film when it's harder to do when we're talking about ourselves.
Yeah. Being a fear scientist, I mean, that's at a completely different level than most of us, because we like to stay away from fear, where you're running into the fires of fear.
Yeah, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like to find ways to play around with these neuro hacks. So I try them out for myself, but it's not that, I'm like, okay, everyone, you're going to be able to climb Mount Everest tomorrow. I don't want to climb Mount Everest. Like, it's cold. I have no desire to climb Mount Everest. Right? But I do have a desire to reach my goals and to live a life with good stories. And to do that, I need tools.
Isn't that what your book is all about, those tools?
It is. Yes. And some stories that I try and show my misadventures. Like you'll find stories of me running away from a black bear with a $45 pizza because I refused to give up my $45 pizza. No pizzas or black bears were hurt in this story, so it's a good one. And other stories to kind of just make the kind of educational part fun and enjoyable, because I love books. Books are entertainment, and they should be a fun journey, even if it's going to bring you value and tools.
You're so transparent in this book where you're being honest. You went into it. It's almost like you saw us reading it before you even wrote it, because there's so many things in here that we can all relate with. And you put it in a very one-on-one, I'm sitting in the same room with you kind of a way.
That was absolutely my goal. So many people, as a science professor for nearly 20 years now, people come to my classes terrified of just science, of just basic biology for many, many different reasons. And I want people to feel that this is a conversation, just like you and I are having. Like there's my book about fear is not scary. So there's no jump scares. There's no, severed fingers. It's all meant to be enjoyable and lighthearted. And hopefully there'll be some chapters where you're laughing at me and with me. In addition, right? In addition, comedy is my coping mechanism. And able to walk away with tools that you can use right now, like today, not in 10 years, not in 20 years, and it's not going to be, buy this fancy schmancy gadget or take this magic pill. They're all things that, I want people to be able to have access to, that they can do immediately, and start to play around with these different tools and see which ones work best for your body and your brain.
When we make ourselves afraid, isn't that creating an excuse for not doing something?
Maybe it kind of depends. I mean, we're masters at procrastination.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Sometimes, especially something's, if something is scary for me, I will clean my house. And not kind of boo, jump out of the closet scary, but the big scary, the internal scary, right? The I'm not enough, or I'm an imposter, or that feels too big and too, okay, you know what? I have a deadline next week for all these pages. How about I just clean my baseboards, because that's a more productive use of my time. Okay. Time to clean the fridge again. So we can, right? We can definitely try and dissuade ourselves from one thing that's scary, that's a internal scary, something that really keeps us up at night at 3 a.m. worrying if we're going to be good enough, or whether we're going to lose control of our autonomy, our life, our finances, all these things. Something that is kind of jump scary, like a corn maze or something like that, can distract us, because now we're fully focused on not getting jumped out by the whatever creepy McCreepersons that are happening in that corn maze. And that's just escapism. We have, for me, one of my escapisms is YA cozy murder mystery books. And so it's just a little scary. It's not too scary that it's going to give me nightmares, but it's kind of ooh, gentle scary.
How do you deal with the fears that we're going through even today? We have another hurricane on the way. We have 2 wars that we have no control over. My master in martial arts used to tell me, can you control it? No, move on. And it's that wasn't an answer. That didn't help me out with it.
Yeah, right. I know. And that is a total hashtag goals. But I'm not there yet. I'm not that zen. So I need tools. And I was actually in the Hurricane Beryl this past summer trying to leave Belize, and I wasn't able to leave Belize. And so I get it. For me, coming back to those neuro hacks again and again to help calm the physiological aspects of that amygdala fear response, so that you can make better decisions to move forward. Because when we're in a fear response, even if it's really mild, we make really poor decisions. Our brain cannot operate to make good decisions. And then bad decisions get us into worse spots. Or we can continue to what I call a fear spiral, right? Something small then gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden everything is wrong and everything is terrible. And it's so easy to get on that kind of fear train and just let it take you away. And that's why my neuro hacks are to help. Okay, nope, here's some tools that once you start recognizing that your body is starting to get into a fear arousal response, here's the things that are going to be in your toolbox to just nip that immediately in the butt, no matter where you are, just like bloop. And so that you don't get to that, like really extreme space. And, like it's so many times people will have these like really big questions. And part of it is the world will always have strife. The world will always have challenge. That's just part of being alive, and focusing on what you can change and picking the things that you are really passionate and motivated about to make the world a little bit better place. I mean, that's all what we can do, right? We can't influence everything. It's just impossible.
Yeah. Where can people go to find out more about you? And you mentioned something about a podcast, Mike. That tells me that you probably have a podcast as well.
Oh, I don't, but I do media. So I don't do my own podcast, but I go on podcasts, and I always want to make sure that the people on the other end are getting their best quality production from me. But I do, like I said, like I do keynotes, and I do workshops and live events, and I make media. So they can find out about the book Brave New You either by going to hellobravenewYou.com. And it's also sold everywhere from Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and of course our favorite indie bookstores all across the country. But if people go to hellobravenewYou.com, because my last name is horrendous to spell, so I'm not going to force anyone into that. And so, I mean, like, I know it. But what you going to do, right? But hellobravenewYou.com, and you'll be able to get my favorite neuro hacks as downloadable cards, and I made some videos along with them, totally free, no sign in, no sign up, just my gift to your audience. So if they want to go there and download that, I would love to, start their neurohacking journey as soon as possible. Otherwise, they'll be able to see the hyperlinks to all of the major outlets, including, I forgot my favorite, Audible. So I also narrate the audiobook as well, and that's available at Audible, but also all audio book retailers.
Wow. I love where your heart is. 10 minutes with you is not enough, and I hope that we can get together many times in the future because I love where you're growing with this. There's a lot of fear in the world, and I really want to have more conversations with you.
I would love that.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay, doctor?
Thanks, you as well.